Good evening, everybody. At this time, please silence your cell phone and be advised these proceedings are being recorded. For those physically present in the council chamber who desire to address the city council during the meeting, please complete the request to speak form available at the front entrance of the city council chamber presented to the secretary. Speakers physically present will be called upon at the appropriate time, and each person is allowed 3 minutes of speaking time. Tonight, we're going to honor Grant Ward in his memory for this meeting. He was a sergeant for San Bernardino County Sheriff. He leaves behind a wife and 2 kids. He had a long battle with cancer. Really nice person. Got along with everybody. One of the good guys, and we're going to miss him, his smile. I was talking to somebody, and somebody said, if you were to describe Grant Ward as a dog, you would call him a golden retriever, because he got along with everybody. He just made friends, and no matter if they got in an argument, he was still a good person that you talk to and everything. So we're going to remember Grant Ward. So I'm going to go and convene this meeting, the City Council, February 10th at 6 p.m. The invocation will be given by Reverend Dr. Sonny Ahad. Is that how you say it? The New Beginnings United Methodist Church. And then after that, the Boy Scouts will be leading the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand. Is the Reverend here?
Yes. I'm vertically challenged. All right. God of peace, God of love, before we say or do anything, we ask your spirit of peace rest upon us. We thank you for this community and for the privilege of gathering to serve the people of this city. We are grateful for those entrusted with the leadership and public service, including the secretary of our council, and for the shared responsibility of seeking the common good. As the council begins its work tonight, grant each member wisdom, clarity, humility, and integrity. Help them listen with patience, speak with respect, and lead with compassion and courage. As Valentine's Day approaches, remind us that love is more than words. It is shown through fairness, service, and genuine care for our neighbors, especially those most vulnerable. During Black History Month this month, deepen our commitments to honor dignity, justice, and the enduring contributions and leadership of Black communities throughout our nation and city. Guide every discussion and decision tonight towards unity, safety, and flourishing for all. Bless this meeting with purpose and peace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend, and thank you, Troop 40. Madam Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Councilmember Allen,
Here.
Councilmember Wilson,
I am here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sabino,
Here.
Mayor Hesse.
Present.
Mayor, you have the quorum.
Thank you. Item B is public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any item not appearing on the regular agenda because restrictions contained in California law. The City Council may not discuss or act any item not on the agenda, but may briefly respond to statements made or ask questions for clarifications. The mayor may also request a response for staff's questions raised during public comment or may request the matter to be agendized for a future meeting. Is there any public comment?
Yes, sir. Johan Gallo.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Johan Gallo, DeSoto Street, Grand Terrace, 44-year resident of Grand Terrace. I want to address the planning meeting that was held the other day, the workshop, and maybe what we need to do is rename that to eliminate the confusion and start calling it the Housing Development Plan Workshop. Everybody thought the planning workshop was canceled when it was just the planning committee that was canceled. As a deterrent, maybe Grand Terrace should consider, we're up against this battle that's mandated by the state for the rezoning. Maybe if we put assessment fees with developers to improve the infrastructure for our city, increase our fire, sheriff, and first responder resources, maybe we would get the resources that we need for this mandatory build-out that we have to do, or it becomes a deterrent for them to build. I think the other thing we need to think about is weather. How about when Grand Terrace was shut down because Washington and Barton was closed, the Hill was closed, the only access that first responders had was the 215 off of Barton, or coming in on La Cadena, both that were backed up for miles. So the only other way into Grand Terrace was through High Grove. We really need to think about this plan. I realize that's not the topic tonight. This is a regular council meeting. But I think in workshops moving forward, we have to look at what we can create that we can live with as residents, because we don't have a choice. I posted the other day, you look at Orange County, they've already spent $3.5 million to try and fight this. They probably have another $14 million, and they're still gonna lose. We don't have that kind of money. If we did, we'd have more sheriffs already. Based on the mapping that they have talked about, have they even considered talking to the fire department, talking to the sheriff's department, talking about access to these areas and what it's gonna do when we're gridlocked and we can't get where we need to with the first responders? So with that, I plan on attending every one of the workshops. I'm not bashful, I think you know that by now. But I really think we need to look at the future of Grand Terrace and do what we need to for our city, our residents, our businesses, and for God's sakes, our first responders. Thank you.
Thank you, Johan. Do we have any other public comment?
Yes, David Cranbell.
Good evening, members of the City Council and Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make a quick announcement. I know you guys have a lot to go over tonight, so I won't take up too much time. Our Boy Scouts who just performed the Pledge of Allegiance for you guys this evening, we are going to be hosting, along with the Lions Club, a pancake breakfast at the Professional Plaza on February 28th, that's Saturday, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. We wanted to invite the community out to enjoy some food and get to know each other, support the Boy Scouts, support the Lions Club. It helps with the costs, not only of the Lions Club to support their charities within the community, but also for our Boy Scouts to go to summer camp, which thanks to the generous support of the city council and the city over the last few years, we've been able to send them to some really great camps. This year, we're excited to send them to Catalina Island, which is a pretty significant camp. It's one of the best in the country. And our boys have done a fantastic job at their summer camps and campouts over the last few years. So we are excited to kind of ship them off over the ocean for 20 miles or so and let them have fun on Catalina Island. And this pancake breakfast, as well as some other fundraisers we've done, will help us cover the cost of that, because it's quite a bit more than our previous summer camps. So I thank the City Council and I thank the community for the support of the Boy Scouts and of the Lions Club. Without Grand Terrace as a community, we wouldn't be able to make these things happen for our youth. So I thank you guys very much.
When is that? Say that date again,
It's
please.
February 28th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And there are some flyers in the brochure panel out front. We have posted it on social media. I think a few members of the council have seen it on social media. And we will be selling tickets to the Boy Scouts at various locations. We are posting email address troop40gt@gmail.com. You can contact us to buy tickets directly or also purchase the day of at the event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony Rosales.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Tony Rosales. I'm from the office of Assemblywoman Leticia Castillo. Assemblywoman Castillo is very proud to represent Grand Terrace in Sacramento, and I'm here to just provide a couple updates from her office. The Assemblywoman has been assigned to multiple committees. She has been assigned as Vice Chair to the Economic Development, Growth, and Household Impact Committee, as well as the Human Services Committee. She sits as a member on the Assembly Education Committee, the Communications and Conveyance Committee, and the Environmental Safety and Toxic Materials Committee. The Assemblywoman has introduced two new bills in Sacramento. One of them is AB 1597. This bill was designed to support small business owners by updating outdated legal framework to help ensure public notaries can continue providing reliable, accessible services without being undercut by inflation or rising costs. The second bill the Assemblywoman has introduced is AB 1717. This bill works to increase access to mobile dental care for seniors, veterans, and other vulnerable populations who have difficulty traveling to traditional dental offices. This bill increases Medi-Cal reimbursement rate for mobile and extended dental care visits and makes it more feasible for providers to bring care directly to people in homes, skilled nursing facilities, and other care settings. Next Friday, February 20th, is the deadline for the Assemblywoman to introduce any new legislation, and I will bring more updates as that comes down the pike. As a reminder to the community, I am the field representative from the Assemblywoman's office, and I host mobile office hours here in Grand Terrace. Next week, next Tuesday, February 17th, I will be hosting mobile office hours from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is an opportunity for the community to come and get direct help from the Assemblywoman's office with any state agency issues that they are having. Additionally, the Assemblywoman is having a 2026 Women of the Year nomination period. The Assemblywoman's office is recognizing one woman who lives or works in the district in each of the following categories, and that's excellence within the business community, service to a nonprofit, service to education, legacy of leadership and service, community impact, and legacy of motherhood award. I have a flyer if you would like. This has a little QR code that you can scan, and you can nominate a woman you know who exemplifies these values in any of these categories. Lastly, I will be hosting a legislative update at the Senior Center here in Grand Terrace. It's going to be next month, Monday, March 9th, from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. This will be an event attended by me. The Assemblywoman will be in Sacramento, but I will be happy to be there to provide a legislative update and access to resources to our seniors in Grand Terrace. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, anybody else?
Cindy Binley.
Good evening. I have a public comment regarding the zoning maps, the high-density rezoning, and what I call 15-minute cities and what everybody else calls 15-minute cities. Members of the Grand Terrace Council, I'm speaking tonight about how proposed multi-level and high-density zoning changes on Grand Terrace's zoning maps are not isolated land use decisions, but part of a larger planning framework that leads directly towards smart city and 15-minute city models. Please look it up. Grand Terrace zoning map currently reflects long-standing R1 single-family residential areas which were planned for low density, limited traffic, predictable infrastructure's demand, and neighborhood stability. When those same areas are redesigned to multi-level, a high-density residential, the map is not just changing colors, it's changing the function of the city. Under California's housing element law, California Code Section 65580 through 65589.11, cities are required to plan for housing capacity based on the RHNA, which our number's like 600, but we really need 500. However, these statutes do not require blanket rezoning of established R1 neighborhoods. Again, they do not require blanket rezoning for established R1 neighborhoods, nor do they remove your obligation to evaluate local impacts. When Grand Terrace zoning maps begin to show clusters of high-density housing, and this is just the beginning, particularly near corridor schools and services, that is the first structural step toward the planners' call smart cities and 15-minute cities. These models depend on population concentration, reduced car use, centralized service access. Without density, these systems do not function. This planning direction is reinforced by SB 375, which ties land use decisions to regional transportation and greenhouse gas reduction goals. Density is used as a tool to reshape how residents move, how they live, access daily needs, often without explicitly using the term 15-minute cities. California law still requires restraint and analysis under Government Code 65860. Zoning must remain consistent with the city's general plan. Under CEQA, Public Resources Code 21,000, Grand Terrace must analyze traffic, parking, emergency response water, sewer, and cumulative impacts of increased density shown in its maps. Technology and planning theory do not replace physical
Bentley,
infrastructure.
That's time. That's time. Thank you.
Would you like me to finish?
No, that's time. We have a lot more speakers. Thank you.
I hope you hear me.
Next.
We would like to call Bobby Forbes, please.
You have to say that again,
Bobby Forbes.
Bobby Forbes.
I'd like to have J.C. Wallace on the agenda in the future. I'm having surgery in March. If you could do it before then, I would appreciate it. We had an incident here recently. I know all the council members know about it. One of the residents cold-cocked a man sitting in his car, 77 years old. Something needs to be done. I called the sheriff's office 3 weeks ago because the man that swings his arm was surrounding my car in front of Walgreens. I couldn't get out of my car. He then proceeded to panhandle. That's when I called the sheriff. He came out, and he laid down in front of my car on the concrete. He does this in front of the Chevron station. There needs to be some control over some of these people. They lied to us. We know they lied to us when they came to town. Somebody's going to get hurt besides this senior gentleman that already did. And if it's me, I'll make a lot of noise. I've had 2 incidences where I couldn't get out of my car in front of Dollar Tree because they hang out in front of the handicap parking spots. There's 3 of them. I've been taking their pictures since the place opened. The crew that is there now is dangerous to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Any other speakers?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close. No, you have to turn in a form. We're going to close public speaking. Special presentation, certification, recognition for the All-American Cheer Team. Can we have the representative for the All-American Cheer Team come to the podium? Right here. If you could have your cheerleaders join you, that'd be great.
Hi, girl. We have all of you? We're missing one, though. Hello, and thank you for allowing us to come and present our girls to the city of Grand Terrace. These ladies tried out for the All-American team in July at the USA Cheer Camp and were selected from all camp participants. They traveled with their respective families to Orlando, Florida to perform in the Magic Kingdom Thanksgiving Day Parade. They practice every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and actively participate in city events such as the Blue Mountain Festival and Parade, the annual tree lighting, and the Blue Mountain Hike. These girls help keep school spirit alive at all school events, including football, basketball, wrestling, soccer, baseball, cross country, pep rallies, back to school night, and also compete, so they are very busy. Despite their demanding schedules, they all remain on top of their schoolwork, and some even take college classes. We are so proud of all of their accomplishments and outstanding representation of the city of Grand Terrace. Please note that this trip was not sponsored by the school or the district. Our All-American team members here tonight are Marlene Hernandez, Senior, Eliana Rodriguez, Senior, Araya Hill, Jr., Maddie Medina, Jr., and Millie Macias, Senior. Thank you for allowing us to come and share our accomplishments.
Well, we're not done with you guys yet. We're going to give you an award, but please have them come back to the podium. We have some questions for them.
Sure.
We're going to have them perform a cheer tonight for us.
What'd you say?
Do you guys want to do a cheer for us?
Do you guys want to? Yeah? Sure. We can, yes.
Okay, we're waiting. You don't have to if
Yeah.
we put you on the spot. That's fine.
It's okay. What should we do?
Are you shy cheerleaders? Is that what's going on?
No. We're just making up a good plan to show you guys. Yeah. Okay, you guys ready for this?
Yeah, you can come up here. or
Wait,
do-
which way are we facing? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you can face them. You don't have to face us.
Ready, 1, 2, 3.
Well, we still have some other stuff for you, so if you could join us right here in front, we have a little certificate for you and a pin so you can put on your jacket. So. Okay, our next recognition is the girls' wrestling team. We won't have them wrestling here, so. Coach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the city council members. I'd like to take a minute and just recognize these young ladies. Their hard work is unending. They work out 5 days a week, sometimes 6, making sure they get their job done. These ladies went 6-0 in the Sunkist League, bringing home the league champs. After that, they went to the Arrowhead Conference Champion, which is a combination of the San Andreas League and our Sunkist League, and they won the championship there as well.
All right.
We walked away with seven league champions, 2 second-place runner-ups, and 1 third-place champion. I'd like to take a second to thank Vince Rodriguez, the head coach, and his assistant coach, Marissa, for all their hard work and backstage work that nobody sees, all the paperwork that they do. They're the driving reason behind this team. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Coach. Ladies, what made you get into wrestling? Anybody want to answer that?
Hi, I'm Isabella Milan. I'm a captain and I'm a junior. I started wrestling when I was really young, and there was like no girls on my team at all. So seeing a big team makes me just want to continue wrestling.
Hello, good evening. My name is Gracie Sanchez and I'm a senior. And what made me join wrestling was one of my high school coaches. And I just went to the room and saw them practice and I loved it. I fell in love with it.
Great. Well, I'm trying to get back into my wrestling weight is 140. I don't know if that's going to work out. The Girl Scouts keep ruining my diet every January. But yeah, so do you guys beat up your brothers or anything like that? Yeah? Is that how you got in wrestling? Okay. Well, we're really proud of you. I wish, Coach next year sent out invitations so we could actually watch, them compete. I would love to be there to see that. I don't look on social media all the time, but I would love to see, wrestling. It's a great sport. And, just like people always tell them, I go, you're thinking 3 moves ahead. If this person does that, you're going to do this. If this do that, you're going to do that. And one time with our coach, we messed with him. We put our wrestling shoes on backwards. So our left foot, right foot. And, he was like trying to look at it. He's like trying to figure everything out. But, it hurt. But, we got him going. But he made us run after that. So our wrestling practice was a track practice. So, but we're really proud of you guys. I don't know. Are you guys wrestling the cheerleaders later on or something? No. But they cheer you on, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. But my granddaughter actually came up to me and said, Pappy, I want to take up wrestling. Then she tried to wrestle me, and my dog didn't like it. He started attacking me because he thought I was hurting her, but she was beating me up. I had to call uncle and something. But no, it's a great sport. Would the council like to say anything? Our only female council, she wants to take up wrestling.
I don't. I grew up with all boys. Congratulations to all of you and to our cheer team. I know with the daughter who dances competitively, I know that the time and effort that goes into it. And thank you for all of you for being women who lead the way. We will join you right up here if you guys want to line up so that way we can get you your certificates and some pins.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Good job, girls. Well deserved.
All right, we'll let them clear the room, but that was a great wrestling group of people. ALT, you might want to recruit some of them to help you with fighting crime.
I was just telling Gary that. I said that's all future deputies right there. So yeah, we'll take them. Yeah. Yeah, come on over.
Yeah. So is Matt Hernandez here? Is he not here? So we'll have to save that presentation for next one. Matt Hernandez had a little award for you, LT. He must have forgot, his. I'll tell him that's the only reason why you showed up. Next year, we'll get Gary out there and Relay for Life, too. Yeah.
We're doing the marathon next time, the full marathon.
We'll do a chariot race. You guys could carry me on the thing. Do the firemen carry? Is that what we're going to do? I'll try to get down to my $140 weight for you. All right, well, so thanks again for the young ladies who Grand Terrace is proud of them for everything they do. Good group of young ladies and a good group of parents and grandparents and family members supporting them and raising them. We're really blessed to have them. Okay, so we'll go ahead and close a special presentation. Let's open up the consent calendar. The following consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be acted upon any by the City Council at one time without discussion. Any council member, staff member, or citizen may request removal of the consent items. And for discussion, is there any public comment on the consent items?
Yes, sir. Patricia Farley.
Ms. Farley? Which item does she want to talk about?
Pardon?
She will speak on item 8.
Item 8? Okay.
I won't take 3 minutes.
Okay,
I
Ms.
just
Farley.
want to tell you I was quite surprised that the city was planning on having a beer garden in Rollins Park to earn money for the Lions Club. I think that's not appropriate. I think you should raise money in a better way. That's my feeling anyway.
Thank you, Ms. Farley. What is it, like the third year in a row we're going to be doing this land thing? Okay. Any other public comment? Okay. We'll go ahead and close public comment. I have to be reclused from 2 items on D4 and D7 for December check, number 83-219 for $359.85 for reimbursement, and January's check register 83-284 for $359.85 for reimbursement. Doug, do you have anything on yours?
Thank you, Mayor. Please recuse myself from item D6, January check register number 83270 for $1,217.40 for reimbursement of health insurance.
Okay, so we had those recluses. Do I have any motion in a second?
Mr. Mayor, I had a comment I'd like to make.
Okay.
I believe it's item number 5. It's approval of the January check register. There's a couple of items on there. There are checks for Jessica Brown, and I just wanted everyone to know that I do not have a conflict. That Jessica Brown is not my wife, Jessica Brown. It's the new bus driver we hired, and her name is Jessica Brown. So Just to clear the air, no conflict. We're not related at all. And with that, I move the item.
I'll second.
Oh, I thought your wife was getting a second job. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. City Attorney, you have anything?
I do not. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. So item E, public hearing, adoption of 2026 Grand Terrace Local Hazards Mitigation Plan presented by Gabriel. Are you guys pointing at each other? Who's going to be up there speaking? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Gabriel Arguelles. I'm the assistant planner here for the City of Grand Terrace Planning and Community Development. We have Michael Baker International, represented by Noelle Anderson, and she'll be giving a presentation on the local hazard mitigation plan.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. We weren't debating on who's presenting. I did come prepared with our presentation to discuss the hazard mitigation plan. All right, so thank you for the opportunity to discuss this planning effort. This plan really represents a collaborative effort between our team, city staff, and numerous stakeholders who participated in the planning process. Excited to present the document for your review and approval today. What we'll start with is the definition of hazard mitigation planning. And so really to inform the purpose of our plan, as FEMA defines it, hazard mitigation would be the sustained actions to reduce or eliminate long-term risk to people and property from natural hazards and their effects. And so this is actually the fourth iteration of the city's hazard mitigation plan. This plan is required to be updated every 5 years to maintain eligibility with FEMA grant fundraising, or FEMA grant program standards. This is also linked to changes in the city's housing element, safety element, and environmental justice element. Now, to streamline components in those other deliverables, we did a vulnerability assessment that are incorporated in your general plan by reference. That helps continue to establish eligibility and maintain your FEMA grant funding should there be a disaster that arises in Grand Terrace. The only item I will note is that timing worked out well here too. Your plan is consistent with the latest FEMA guidance. There was a major overhaul in 2023 and a smaller overhaul in 2025. So what you have in front of you today is compliant with the latest and greatest guidelines. And your end product, as you have in front of you today, final hazard mitigation plan. It has been approved by both Cal OES and FEMA, so they have determined it meets the statutory guidelines. And it again, once adopted, it does establish that eligibility for the grant funding. Awards do have maximum amounts of $50 million, so substantial grant funding on the table once adopted. And as a FEMA deliverable, it does follow a series of prescribed steps. There are flexibility within those steps, but generally speaking, this is the process that the hazard mitigation planning process went through. First, we worked with your stakeholders to define what hazards could potentially affect Grand Terrace, and that was also informed by hazards that were included in previous iterations of your plans. Once we were in agreement on which hazards could potentially occur here, we assessed the vulnerability of each hazard, so where impacts could be most severe. And then last, once we understood the vulnerability, we identified specific strategies, actions, and overarching goals, how we are going to reduce and eliminate that risk to the fullest extent possible. And as I mentioned earlier, that is linked to your safety and environmental justice element. We are preparing that concurrently. Both of these items followed the same outreach process, so we have the same feedback and same findings to maximize consistency between each deliverable. And working through the hazard list, we have it here on the screen. And if you noticed at the beginning of the presentation when I defined hazard mitigation, I did note specifically natural hazards. And as you can see on this screen, there are some human-caused hazards, namely, what we heard a lot of feedback from the public is the public safety power shutoff concerns, along with some concerns about active shooter train derailment. So all this to say this plan does go above and beyond the required components, and it does link to some of the mitigation actions and funding items that I will flag on a following slide. But for those hazards where there is a mapped hazard zone, we were able to conduct a very specific quantitative vulnerability assessment. So we do know which populations and what kind of development in your city is at risk to each hazard, and this helped inform our mitigation strategy to be as specific as possible. And ultimately, mitigation strategy, these are the range of actions that reduce and eliminate risk to both natural and human-caused hazards in the city. Out of all of the 17 hazards we had the previous slide, we were able to generate 45 actions that would address that hazard vulnerability. And a lot of the times, just with working with the public, when people think mitigation actions, they tend to think a physical infrastructure project. And so that could be if we routinely see floods, we want to see some sort of flood or drainage system improvement. And that is included in your plan, but what is also included in your plan, we have natural systems protection, we have education and awareness programs, so outreach is a valid mitigation action to build community capacity, along with regular updates to your plans and regulations. And also note from your previous plan, there were 2 mitigation actions completed, which is wonderful. Sometimes we update plans where there hasn't been any progress to mitigation actions. So any documentation there is appreciated by FEMA. And then on this slide here, this is what your mitigation action ultimately looks like. Beyond identifying the action itself, what we're going to do to reduce risk, we tied it specifically to the hazard, the responsible department, along with tying in funding sources too. So not only the FEMA grant programs that could potentially be used to pay for the action, but also some California state funding sources too that I will highlight on a following slide. But getting back to the policy update I mentioned, a key component now required of hazard mitigations, we are required to address socially vulnerable populations, those folks who might need additional assistance in the case of a hazard, whether that condition is caused by something temporary or permanent, just knowing that they'll need extra support both during a disaster and also to prevent, prepare, and respond. And then last, like I mentioned, this is really a key part of our mitigation plans now with FEMA funding going through kind of a period of transition. We did see California pass Proposition 4 last year, where $10 billion is coming online in the next 5 years to help fund not only the drinking water, wildfire protection, and other climate projects. I believe 3.5 million or $1 billion of that is going to be released this year to fund programs in the next fiscal year. So that is also linked in the plan, and those are both existing programs that exist with like existing state programs and also new ones as well. And then last, we did not prepare this plan in a silo. We had a great time engaging with members of your public. We did establish a stakeholder committee where 22 individuals representing neighboring jurisdictions, city staff, our public safety responders, as well as some of our nonprofits and educational systems, they did participate in the plan as well. We had 6 meetings where we consolidated their feedback into the plan. And then we also hosted one community outreach event where we did a pop-up at the Light Up Grand Terrace. And I think I had the pleasure of seeing a few of you folks at that. You stopped by our booth. Even the Grinch gave us feedback. So we talked to about 200 folks at this event, and it was a really great way to drive engagement and get some feedback on what people's concerns are as well. And last, we did deploy some virtual opportunities. We didn't get as much outreach as we do in person. That's pretty typical of our plans. Like I said, we talked to over 200 people during the outreach event itself, so that was more than sufficient to get the kind of feedback we're looking for. And then very last item, we're looking for adoption by resolution today. After your adoption, I take the hazard mitigation and submit it back to FEMA for final approval. Once that is processed, the eligibility for FEMA grant funding is established, and we move forward towards implementation on your plan. But with that, I am open to any questions or feedback on the presentation or the plan and available for questions.
Thank you. Does council have any questions? No? Conrad, do you have any questions?
No, only a comment. There's some typos and some small changes we need to make that are not substantial or substantive to what's happening. So before we submit, we will clear up those typos in the document.
Councilmember Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor. I read this entire thing. It made my eyes bleed. But you know the good thing about it is? It is well done.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to say all the team members that contributed to this did a great job. You know, I know what the previous report looked like, and it was woefully low in facts and mitigations and hazards. And so I think it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, I made a suggestion that we should update this, and it just happened to fall into the time frame where the city had intended to do this. I'm glad that they got a hold of you guys. I think it helped a great deal. I was curious about a couple of elements, but I'm going to keep those to myself. In the bottom line, of course, there's a lot of duplicity in the reports. The reason why is because that's the way government reviews things. You have to say the same thing about 10 times before it gets through somebody's thick head. I think it's great that we've addressed as many wide-spanning items. You know, we think about floods not really affecting us, but they do. You know, all you have to do is go in a city that doesn't have much storm drain in it and an awful lot of elevation, and you realize that floods can be an issue. Anyway, all of this, I really appreciate all your effort, and I'm hoping that our next 5-year run will not take as much primping to be able to get to the approval, but I'm certainly glad to think that we've got a document that is eligible for approval, especially from FEMA. FEMA is the federal organization when it comes to Federal Emergency Management Agency, and so believe me, it is not easy, and it is rocket science, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Allen?
I'd like to move approval. Staff recommendation.
Anybody else have any comments? Well, thank you, and now this the thing is FEMA, you know, it's especially when we deal with, you know, even like our power outages, and a lot of people not prepared for that. You know, it's a man-made thing, but, you know, it was supposed to be preventing other issues. But even our senior apartments that are privately owned, were not prepared. So hopefully they'll have a generator and get prepared. But yeah, as far as flooding, the Mount Vernon slope, I mean, I've been on this council for, you know, 10 years, and it's the same thing that we're trying to get money on, the storm drains, because believe it or not, you know, we do have like the Colorado River going down some of these roads when it does really rain hard, and there's some are just, you know, it's outside for the gutters, and then I know the water goes down to Riverside, the basin, and it's drinking water. Yeah. But thank you for your, you know, your plan here, and it is well written. I waited for Doug to read it, and he told me a story about it, but, you know, but no, it was a lot to read, but it was a good read, and we really appreciate all your hard work. So I'll second the motion. City Attorney, you have anything?
I do not. I just want to confirm there are no speakers.
Yeah,
No public comments.
No public comment?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for reminding me of that. Okay, we have no public comment. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. All right, item 11, Community Development Block Grant, fiscal year 2026, 2027 funding priorities. Ms. Tillman?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, Shanita Tillman, Senior Management Analyst, Public Works. This report before you is in relation to the Community Development Block Grant funding recommendations for the 26-27 program year. The staff before you supports goal number 4, develop and implement successful partnerships. The Community Development Block Grant Program is a federally funded program administered by San Bernardino County. Eligible activities must meet one of the 3 national objectives, most commonly benefiting low to moderate income residents. Under the program, the city may fund up to 4 projects. In prior years, we were able to leverage unprogrammed funds carried over from earlier cycles to supplement allocations. And at this time, we do not have any unprogrammed funds available to offset funding, which limits the activities we can realistically support. For the upcoming program year, the city's estimated allocation is $39,032, which represents a significant reduction from prior years. HUD is expecting an overall 25% reduction program-wide. For the 26-27 cycle, the city received 3 eligible applications: the city's senior services coordinator position, the county's library literacy program, and Girls on the Run's youth confidence building program. Given the reduction in allocation, staff evaluated how to prioritize funding to ensure the greatest impact with limited resources. CDBG funding supports the city's senior services coordinator position, and it's a position that provides daily programming, outreach, and support at the senior center. And maintaining this role is critical to the continued operation and growth of the senior center. With the funding multiple programs would significantly dilute the impact and increase pressure on the general fund. Staff recommends the following, and that is conduct a public hearing for the recommendation of eligible applications for the 26-27 program year, and prioritize funding allocations and authorize staff to submit the city's CDBG funding recommendations to the San Bernardino County Economic Development Agency. And I am available for any questions.
Thank you. Councilor Allen?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that report, Ms. Tillman. Regarding the senior meal program that was, it's mentioned in your report that FSA did not submit. And now, is FSA the only organization that offers that service?
It is the only organization within our county that does, yes.
Do we know why they didn't?
We do not. We have had staff reach out to FSA, to which they did indicate they plan to continue services. I can't speak to how that is possible, but what I can state is we will not have a CDBG-funded senior meal program this year.
Do we know about how many meals are served each week? Or
There's over 500.
Okay. So, but I support this staff report here, and I thank you for your work on it.
Any other questions? Councilman Brown?
Good evening. So what was last year's allocation?
It was approximately 52,000.
52,000. And then what's the cost that we had dedicated to the senior nutrition program?
10,000.
10,000. And
That's what we allocated, but they have other costs associated that are
that
not
was my next
associated.
question.
Yes.
So was there general fund set aside to help offset those costs?
No, we only funded 10,000, but
10,000
FSA had their own funding that they get elsewhere that supports this program for them.
Okay. That's really it, except for Conrad. So I was curious what your contingency plan is. Since we're not going to fund that program with CDBG funding, I expect that we will come up with another funding source to continue to serve those residents.
For the meals?
Yes.
What we're hearing from FSA is they will continue to serve meals. They're just not looking for us for the money. So the assumption is that they have, if they're doing 500 meals a week, they're not doing that for 10 grand a year.
Right.
So they have other funding revenue streams that they're using for this. And this year, they don't need that 10,000. They're able to cover it with their revenue streams. If, for some reason, we fall short, we will figure out some way, and it may not be quite as extravagant as what FSA does. It may be frozen meals or something, but we will continue to provide some type of meals.
They must have some grant funding available.
That's the assumption.
Okay. As long as we continue serving those residents. Thank you.
Any other questions? Public comment?
No public comments.
City Attorney, you have anything? Okay, I think Councilman Allen, you had a motion, right?
I did move staff recommendation.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Brown. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Item 12, ordinance amending chapter 12.32, conduct a public property.
Good evening, Council. Shanita Tillman, Senior Management Analyst, Public Works. This item is the introduction and first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 12.32 of the Grand Terrace Municipal Code related to conduct on public property and solid waste container use. Since the placement of the dumpster at City Hall parking lot, the city has experienced repeated instances of gross dumping. In response, towards the end of 2025, the city issued warning notices to registered owners of vehicles involved in improper waste disposal and noted posted signage advising the administrative citations would be issued if behavior continued after the new year. As enforcement efforts began, staff identified the need to ensure that the municipal code clearly supports enforcement actions and clearly defines what areas are considered public property. While Chapter 12.32 generally regulates conduct on public property, it did not cleanly address the improper use of authorized solid waste containers or clearly define its applicability to city facilities and services outside of parks. The proposed ordinance makes narrow targeted amendments intended to clarify existing authority without changing penalties or enforcement procedures. Specifically, the ordinance updates the chapter title to reflect that it applies to all public property, not just parks. It clarifies the definition of public property to include city-owned and city-controlled facilities, including parking lots and service areas. It also adds a new section that clearly regulates the use of solid waste containers on public property and confirms enforcement through the city's existing administrative citation process. And staff recommends the following: introduction and first reading of an ordinance of the City of Grand Terrace amending Chapter 12.32 of the City of Grand Terrace Municipal Code related to the conduct on public property and solid waste container use. And I'm available for any questions.
Council have any questions? Councilman Allen?
So we're creating an ordinance because of this dumpster behind City Hall.
It's what triggered it, yes. But there's a deficit in what is considered public property listed in our municipal code.
We have trusted to our residents' good judgment to follow the signage and behave reasonably with the dumpster, and I think it's a great service that we're providing to the community. We have a handful of people who are unable to do so. This gives us a chance to enforce that they do.
So, but is this going to require constant observation to be able to enforce it? Or are you going to put a camera on it, or what are you going to put it behind a gate?
Camera's already on it, and we're already reviewing it. This came about that we wrote somebody a ticket, and they said, no, you can't write me a ticket because it's not clear. And he's right, so now we're making it clear.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? So Conrad, what's going to be the fine? What are we looking at as far as fine on?
The fine is found in our municipal code, and it is found in chapter 1.05. It's for administrative citations, and what it is for the first offense, it's $100. Second offense is $200, and every subsequent offense after that is $500.
That's even with the legal hazardous material like oil and stuff, or is that a whole different issue?
No, this is for not putting stuff in the dumpster. We have a problem, you come in, and usually it's over the weekend. You come in on Monday morning, there's piles of trash around where people aren't willing to come back on Monday, and the dumpster's full. Or they pack it so high that we can't get it loaded on the truck, and we have to unload it to get it out and then reload the new dumpster that comes in. So it's really enforcing good etiquette. It has nothing to do with what's going in there.
Okay. Yeah, because
But it's worth keeping? It's worth having?
My personal opinion is I think it's something that no community has in the area. It's a service that is unique and people value it. And anecdotally, and once again, my opinion is the 2 or 3 years that we've had this, the community is looking better. There isn't those piles of junk on the side of the garage your wife tells you to get to. The people are emptying out their garages. Cars are actually in there instead of stuff. Landscaping is looking better because you're able to trim your stuff and get it out instead of fill the green basket 1 week at a time. So I think it's had a positive effect on the community.
So Conrad, what about construction equipment? I mean, construction waste, contractor waste?
It's not supposed to take commercial waste. I think that's part of the instructions on the signage on the front. So if we do get a lot of commercial construction waste, we'll pull up the camera, and whoever's unloading the drywall and framing materials, they will get a ticket as well.
So if a household resident is just remodeling, is that all right?
Different story. We can see by volume if it's, you're doing some home improvement, or this becomes a dumping ground, for, Joe's Construction Company.
Okay, I know Riverside had a big waste disposal by Sandals Church. I think it was this weekend or last week, but when are we going to have another one? Like they'll take tires and shredding paper? Do we have anything?
We generally do that once a year, so we'll come that out with e-waste, the larger items, and one of the things we are looking at and looking for space and how that works is to get some a recyclable container by the dumpster too, so we can get our recyclables up as well.
Okay, do you know if we could have a shredder truck there too because I've been asked, request for that. We did that several years ago.
That was a program that was done through the Household Hazardous Waste program with the county, and they're no longer doing that service. So if we wanted to explore that, that might be for sure at an added cost to the different agencies that might need to come out.
So we could give it to the fire department, they could burn it?
Gary?
No, what we are looking at is for a smaller, a 3-yard dumpster for recyclables, paper and cardboard, those type of things. Once we get into shredding, there's a fairly steep cost per pound on a shredding unit.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a good program. I know sometimes when I pull up there, it's already full, or I'll help put stuff that's laying on the side and throw it in there myself because I don't know why people lay it on the side. But is there any public comment?
No public comment.
So one more, when it is full, and as somebody who filled a lot of dumpsters in his life, it's not full. The corners usually have space, you can get stuff down, and lay things flat, don't get stuff crisscrossed in there. There's lots of voids. So there is, if you're a little bit careful, you can tuck some stuff in the corners and still get a lot in there.
Well, like you said, the recycle thing, I think a lot of it's cardboard. If we could have like a cardboard.
Break down your cardboard before you toss it in there.
Can we have a separate one for cardboard?
I'm looking at a 3-yarder for recyclable, yes, a smaller one.
All right. Okay, so we have no public comment. City Attorney, do you have anything?
I will read the title of the ordinance once there's a motion and a second.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the ordinance for introduction and first reading is as follows. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Grand Terrace, California, amending Chapter 12.32, Conduct on Public Property, Parks of Title 12, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places of the Grand Terrace Municipal Code to clarify the definition of public property, update the unlawful acts provision, and establish enforceable regulations governing the use of solid waste containers on public property. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we're going to thank you, City Attorney. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 13, zoning code amendment, 2503, small subdivisions, starter homes. Gabriel.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and members of the public. My name is Gabriel Arguelles, Assistant Planner. Tonight, I'll be presenting Zoning Code Amendment 2503. This item updates the city's subdivision and zoning regulations to implement 2 state housing laws, Senate Bill 684 and Senate Bill 1123. These laws establish a ministerial approval process for qualifying small lot subdivisions and require cities to update their codes accordingly. This item does not approve a development project. It simply updates the municipal code so that the city is ready to process these applications. In summary, Senate Bill 684 was adopted in 2023 as a part of the state's effort to expand housing opportunities and make it easier to create smaller, ownership-oriented housing. SB 684 created a new ministerial pathway for subdivisions within 10 or fewer lots and 10 or fewer residential units, and added specific requirements to government code. This Senate Bill 1123 was adopted in 2024 and refined by SB 684. By clarifying these procedures, and it expanded eligibility to certain vacant parcels and improving consistency in how the law is applied. Together, these laws require cities to process qualifying small lot subdivisions ministerially using objective standards and without discretionary hearings. The purpose of this ordinance is for the city is bringing forward this amendment. We brought this forward for 3 main reasons. First is to comply with state law, which requires cities to implement these small lot subdivisions. Second is to establish clear objective standards so applicants and city staff know exactly when a project qualifies for ministerial approval. And third, to ensure consistency with the city's general plan and housing element, including housing element program number 16, which calls for a streamlined review of code-compliant single-family homes. These updates help reduce uncertainty, improve efficiency, and ensure that the city is prepared to process applications that are already anticipated under state law. This ordinance makes updates to both Title 17, which covers subdivisions, and Title 18, which covers zoning code. In Title 17, the ordinance adds a new chapter dedicated to small lot subdivisions. This chapter establishes objective standards for eligibility, lot size, unit limits, environmental constraints, affordability requirements, and limitations on further subdivisions. It also designates the city engineer as the review and approval authority consistent with the required ministerial process. In Title 18, the ordinance updates the residential zoning districts to clearly identify where state-authorized small lot subdivisions and urban lot splits may apply. It also streamlines the approval of code-compliant single-family homes by consolidating review into a ministerial land use permit. Together, these changes create a clear and consistent framework for ministerial housing review. This item was reviewed by the Planning Commission at a duly noticed public hearing on December 18th, 2025. The Planning Commission reviewed the amendment for consistency with state law, the general plan, and the housing element. Planning commissioners asked staff to clarify the language related to specific adverse impact and enforcement language in section 18.10.100. It appeared to be duplicated in that section. Additionally, Planning Commission suggested adding language to reference septic system approvals from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. Planning staff revised the ordinance to clarify and distinguish the review stages and remove any duplicated language. Staff also added language clarifying that nothing in the ordinance waives or overrides applicable requirements of the Regional Water Quality Board or any other state, federal agencies with jurisdiction over water quality and wastewater disposal. Planning Commission recommended City Council approve this zoning code as amended. The environmental review for this project, it's text amendment only. It does not approve any specific development projects, and that's considered not a project under CEQA pursuant to section 15060C2 and 15061B3. Staff recommends City Council adopt an ordinance approving zoning code 25-03. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
The council have any questions? Councilmember Wilson?
Gabriel, didn't they used to do these things under specific plans? You know, so that if you wanted a private road and you had private sewer and all the rest of that jazz, then you could minimize the lot sizes and, you know, the side yard setbacks and 500,000 other things. And now the state has done a power grab and robbed the cities of their opportunity to be able to determine their own planning. And this is just another example of Newsom and his buddies and his cronies pulling another lousy deal where they don't have funding for their stuff, so they're trying to show the appearance that the way has been cleared for affordable housing. But we don't have any funding from them to implement anything, and we darn sure don't have any interior funding to be able to do it. So it's really kind of it's just a smoke job. And I can't imagine that there's going to be a lot of buy-in in relation to small lot subdivision stuff, at least in this area. But that's up to the market. I just think it's just another indication that the state has failed. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Statements? Do we have any public comment?
No, sir, no public comments.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close that.
Oh, I'm sorry, my apologies. Yes, we do. Patricia Farley.
Okay, Ms. Farley.
Okay, this ordinance cannot be passed and approved the way it is written. And it specifically says in the information that the information in all of this is not injurious to properties or the needed improvements that we need in our neighborhoods and our city. And that's just plain false. And there are statements like that all the way through these reports. Governor Newsom and his buddies started out with different levels of this, and for several years we've had the housing element, where cities were forced to identify fill-in projects and get a certain percentage of low-income housing and stuff and subdivide, okay? Many cities have been upset about this because it was unrealistic, it's damaging to the cities, it was absurd. Now, Newsom is adding to by putting in these other zoning things and the SB 97 and all of this. And it is obvious that it is not appropriate planning because the cities complained, they've sued. The response of the Attorney General and Newsom and the people that are pushing for this, their attitude is they don't care whether or not the cities don't think that it's appropriate. They'll just sue and appeal and rewrite it. There were charter cities. Now they're trying to take away their charters. And Newsom is bullying people and threatening cities by saying he's going to not give you funding. And the council, the people controlling the city and the citizens here, it does not meet our needs. It's damaging. It will not realistically meet the things that they say are the goals. And this is the same group of people, and they call themselves the Yes in My Backyard. And they are the ones that put $15 billion on a train. They still, for years and years, and they stopped the project, and they don't even have tracks. I can tell you that I tried Metrolink. Okay, there's also stuff in here. I got to tell you, the homeowners associations, massive problems. The homeowners don't have rights. It's financially
Okay, Ms.
a
Farley,
problem.
all right, your time's up.
So there's a ton of reasons
I
why
know.
this
Okay,
cannot
your
be
time's up, ma'am.
tolerated.
I know, we understand. Gabriel, you have anything to add? Any questions to that? Do you have anything? Ms. Parley, your time's up. Thank you. Thank you, your time is up. Your time is up. Please sit down. No, please sit down. You're not going to bully this chamber. We knows your time is up. Please sit down. Please sit down. Well, please sit down. Thank you. Your information is not being ignored. We're all on the same page. As council members, I go to Sacramento, we fight with them, we got SCAG fighting with them, we got the League of Cities fighting with them, and it's not just Newsom, it's everybody that keep re-electing Senator Wiener, everybody keeps going in there. We have our Assemblywoman, she's fighting for us, our senator's fighting for us, but unfortunately, we have other cities that have the same, if you have the same party in one state, you're gonna get this, and we're all on the same page. I agree with you 100%. It's a waste. We grew up in California. It used to be the Golden State. It's a fool's gold state now. I'm just as upset. I've been spending time reading. I've been listening to people, taking phone calls, talking to senators, talking to assembly people, and it's pretty much, I talked to other city leaders, especially Huntington Beach. We do not have $3.8 million to spend on a losing battle that the courts are going to get in there and just side with the state, because the state wants to take away local control, and we're fighting for local control. I hate it. I don't like it. None of us up here like it. There's a gun to our head. We're just as upset as you are. We don't like making these things, but we also have to make sure Grand Terrace is solvent, that we don't go and file bankruptcy. We don't get put back in the county. We don't get sued. We can't afford 10, the $100,000 or $600,000 a month on a lawsuit that these people made. And I've seen other states and how they redevelop. If you want to have affordable housing, you get rid of half the red tape that the state puts together for us. And that's how you'll get affordable housing. Now, I understand the frustration. I understand everything that you're saying. We have 3 minutes here. We have other people might want to talk, but we have to give everybody the respect on this podium. So I appreciate you coming up here. I appreciate your input. I appreciate everybody's input here. It's not going on deaf ears in this council. Believe me, it's not. Our staffers working. We're trying to find stuff. We're calling people, so it's not going on deaf ears. All right? Do we have anything else? City Attorney?
Do we have any other speakers?
Any other public comment?
No other public comments.
Okay, so we have no other public comment. We'll go ahead and close. We have a motion.
I make a motion to move staff recommendation to move the item.
We have a second. I'll make a second. City Attorney, you have anything after that?
Yes, I will read the title of the ordinance for introduction and first reading. The title is as follows: An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Grand Terrace, California, approving zoning code amendment 25-03, amending Title 17 subdivisions and Title 18 zoning of the Grand Terrace Municipal Code to implement state small lot subdivision requirements under Senate Bill 684, 2023, as amended by Senate Bill 1123, 2024, to update ministerial land use permit procedures to include code-compliant single-family residences consistent with the Housing Element Program number 16, and determining that the Zoning Code Amendment 25-03 is not a project under the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Before we vote, I'm going to say, get with your state representatives, asking for help for our cities. We're still fighting, but unfortunately, there's guns to our heads, and we have to look over the betterment of all Grand Terrace. So once again, this is another state mandate that's put towards us. And I want to thank the staff for doing this. Is hard work, I understand. And you guys are, you know, I even talked to Scott where he had, 1.5 square miles, and the state's forcing stuff on you, and you're built out. So, yes, but once again, thank you for coming up and speaking, and please vote.
Motion passes with Mayor Pro Tem absent and Council Member Doug Wilson voting no.
Okay. So thank you. Item 14.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Gabriel Arguelles, Assistant Planner. Today's item is going to be for Zoning Code Amendment 2504, which updates the city zoning code to comply with 2 new state laws, Assembly Bill number 98 and Senate Bill 415. These laws establish statewide standards for logistical uses and warehouse development. The item before you does not approve a project. It simply updates the city zoning code regulations so we are consistent with state law. In summary, in 2024, the state adopted Assembly Bill 98, known as the Planning, Logistics, and Neighborhood Standards Act. AB 98 was created in response to concerns about logistics and warehouse facilities being located close to homes, schools, and other sensitive uses. The law sets uniform statewide standards for new logistical facilities, and it says they must be designed to include building placement, truck circulation, landscaping, loading areas, and buffers. Later that year, the Senate Bill 415 was adopted to clarify and refine parts of AB 98 so that cities can apply these standards consistently. Together, these laws require cities to update their zoning codes and to reflect the new standard. The purpose of this ordinance is put forward for three main reasons. It's to comply with state law for reason number one. Second is to provide a clear and objective rules for logistics facilities, and so applicants, staff, and the public also understand what is required. Thirdly, this is to improve protections for nearby neighborhoods, especially when logistics projects are located near sensitive receptors like homes, schools, parks, child care centers, and medical facilities. Overall, this amendment improves clarity, consistency, and predictability in how these uses are regulated. The ordinance makes several key updates to Title 18 of the Municipal Code. It creates a new chapter dedicated entirely to logistical uses, which consolidates all state-required standards in one place. The ordinance also adds state-aligned definitions for logistical use and sensitive receptor, and reorganizes the non-residential land use table so logistics uses are clearly separated from other industrial uses. The new standard includes requirements for setbacks and buffers, also establishes standards for truck access and circulation, building orientation, landscaping, screening, and loading bay placement. Projects located within 900 feet of a sensitive receptors are subject to enhanced standards. And large facilities must meet additional sustainability and operational requirements. All logistics projects subject to these rules will continue to require discretionary site and architectural review. This item went to Planning Commission at a duly noticed public hearing that was held on December 18th, 2025. Planning Commission reviewed the amendment for consistency for state law, the general plan, and the housing element. Planning Commission recommended City Council approve the zoning code amendment with no changes. This project is environmentally exempt from CEQA. Staff recommends City Council adopt the ordinance approving zoning code 25-04. And thank you very much. That's my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Does the council have any questions? No? Any public comment?
Yes, sir. We received an email, and I will read it as follows. Hello, Mayor and Grand Terrace City Council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to comment on the city's implementation of Assemble Bill 98 and Senate Bill 415. My name is Tatiana Flores, and I am an organizer with the Center of Community Action and Environmental Justice and a member of the Fright Community Action Coalition. We would like to share a resource that we created after an event we hosted on November 7th, 2025. At this summit, community members, grassroots organizations, community-based organizations, local agencies, elected officials, and other local stakeholders discussed the implementation of truck route in western Riverside County. From the meeting, we developed a set of principles and best practice centered around protecting community health, safety, and quality of life. We hope this resource can provide guidance and support as the city considers truck routing decisions and work to ensure that the freight policies are implemented in a way that prioritizes residents most impacted by the truck traffic. Thank you for your time. We appreciate the city's attention to this important issue and look forward to seeing how this bill is implemented. Sincerely, Tatiana M. Flores. And her contact information, along with the attachments, have been provided for you and have been placed on the dais.
Okay, Councilmember Brown, you were going to ask something.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Gabriel, all we're doing is creating land use type, correct? We're not changing any zoning or designating
Right.
any areas for logistics development. Is that correct?
Right, those definitions are already in the land use table. I'm simply separating because they're kind of lumped in all three, I believe. I forget all three that are lumped in together. I'm simply separating those so they're each individual on their own. And so they'll be subject to the subscript in the land use table, and it'll point them into the ordinance here today. And so it'll create those requirements under that land use.
Okay. Now, these requirements, are they more restrictive than our current land use requirements?
Absolutely. They're
So
clear.
it would make it more difficult to develop a logistics development if we approve this?
Theoretically, yes.
Because it adds additional conditions to a project, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Additional standards, and they're higher standards that we currently have, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I did want to address the public comment. It kind of highlights a key aspect to AB 98, and this is the first phase of like a two-phase process establishing truck routes and other necessities to be in compliance with AB 98. And so that'll be coming later, and I think there is a shot clock under that requirement. And so we do, as a city, have to come back to fulfill AB 98. There are other things to come back to council for.
So one more question then. Are we going to address those requirements through the general plan update?
No, it'll be sooner before the general plan update comes around.
Okay, thank you.
On AB 98, the truck route, because we're waiting for Commerce to go all the way through, right? To take away, are we going to be relieving the traffic on Michigan when that comes through? Are we on the same page, or is this something different?
Our current truck route allows trucks to go through Michigan, so that hasn't been changed yet. So AB 98 calls for, a regional circulation truck route, and so we could integrate with, adjacent cities and, agencies to have a, overarching truck route.
I thought Mount Vernon was our truck route.
Yeah, you know what? I actually believe that's true.
Because
I
I know when I was on the bond oversight committee for the schools, even the buses were supposed to take Mount Vernon and not be on Michigan. Are we getting buses on Michigan too? I know you don't know, you probably don't.
You know what? I'm not absolutely familiar with our current truck route.
So as part of this, we will have to, before 2028, develop an entire truck route plan, GIS plan. We're going to have, that's a fairly large public works project, not a planning project. And part of it, we're going to start, hopefully with the mid-year funding, to start at least some of the signage and some of the beginning assessment of that. But this is a fairly large project, and we'll have to redefine all of our truck route area as part of this before 2028.
Well, I'm just concerned because, Michigan's so narrow and we have Mount Vernon is wide for it. But I know on Michigan, we have some industrial over there too. And then we have an RV place opening. I'm just wondering, we could stop them at the, what is that? Van Buren, right, till we get Commerce opened up, if they have to deliver there. I'm just, there's no reason for them to go all the way down Michigan when we have
We would have to do
established.
it as part of the study, and that's part of the 2028 program.
Excuse me, I'd like to clarify. The following streets or portions are designated and established as commercial vehicle truck routes. It's going to be Barton Road within the Grand Terrace city limits, Mount Vernon Avenue from Barton Road to Main Street, Main Street from Westerly city limit to Mount Vernon Avenue, and also La Cadena Drive within Grand Terrace city limit.
So Michigan's not on there.
That's right.
So they're driving illegal. So we get signs up there for their illegal truck traffic? If, or some kind, come back to this for clarification?
We will be coming, you have an item as part of mid-year to do a survey for truck route signage and turn signage.
Mayor Pro Tem?
So that is something we're looking at.
It was my understanding when we had redone our streets that when those were redone, that we were very careful about establishing those truck routes because you have to have a certain level of density for that infrastructure. Otherwise, the trucks are coming through and they're just destroying our streets that we just repaved. And so it's a poor use of our tax dollars. Is that not an accurate statement?
Yeah, and in 2023, we had a meeting and a workshop with the council discussing the truck routes, laying out where they were, and defining that. We even redefined what the trucks are and the axles, if I remember right, and changed the pictures in our code as that addresses it. So we've touched on this a couple of times. And this will come back again as our signage program with the mid-year, and it'll come back again with the 2028. But, and also so that we're clear, just because a truck is driving down Michigan, they are allowed to drive as part of a delivery. It's through traffic is the truck route. So you can have a truck come down to your street, drop something off at your house, and it's still not considered truck route. Truck route is through traffic.
I hear what you're saying. However, with all of the development going on with High Grove that sits adjacent to us, it's become a truck route. And I hear you saying also that Barton is a designated truck route. However, we just had a truck actually take out a pole because they can't make that turn going north on Mount Vernon and trying to head east on Barton. And so, you know, those are issues and concerns as well with regard to traffic safety, you know, with utility, and, you know, that we only have one corridor of business and it obstructs our you know, our business in the middle of the city. So just if you could keep those in mind. Thank you again for your presentation tonight. I appreciate it. And if just those things can be noted when moving forward.
As far as that pole, been in talk with Edison, so hopefully they're going to be moving it so we won't have that accident anymore. But of course, that's red tape, you know, so, but it's in the works. I saw we still have more public comment?
Yes, sir. I would like to call Bobby Forbes.
Okay, Ms. Forbes.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, truck route, Terrace Avenue, going down to the trucking facility at Vivienda, Terrace Avenue, is not a truck route. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment?
No, sir, that was it.
All right. City Attorney, you have any, oh, wait, do we have a motion and a second?
I'll move.
Second.
All right, City Attorney, you have anything?
Actually, I do before I read the title. Councilmember Brown had asked about whether we would have to amend the general plan, and the answer is actually yes. We do have to update the circulation element of the general plan, and that needs to be done by January 1, 2028, and that has to include the truck routes, and we have to identify specific travel routes to accommodate additional truck traffic and avoid residential areas and sensitive receptors. So in answer to Councilmember Brown's question, yes, we would have to amend the circulation element of the general plan. With that, I will read the title of the ordinance.
Okay.
The title, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do actually. I just want to confirm that it's 2028, not 2026, because this says 2026.
So there is a requirement that warehouse concentrated regions have to comply by January 1, 2026. As my understanding, Grand Terrace is not included in that. I know that the County of San Bernardino itself as an entity is required to comply with that by January 1, 2026. I know the cities of Chino, Colton, Fontana, Jurupa Valley, Moreno Valley, Ontario, Paris, Rancho Cucamonga, Redlands, Rialto, Riverside, and San Bernardino are included in that. Grand Terrace is not. I don't know if staff has anything to add to that point, but it is my understanding that we are not required to comply by January 2026.
Who determines if we are in that group or not?
I believe that was determined by the state.
Okay, that's good. Because it just seems like we're right in between it all. We fit right in with everything.
Yeah, I would agree. I was a little surprised that it was the other cities and not Grand Terrace.
Yeah.
But I'm not aware that Grand Terrace is included.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
So staff, I think they're in agreement, so.
Anything else before we vote? No? All right. So we have a motion and a second. Please
Yes.
vote.
I gotta
Oh,
read
I'm
the
sorry.
title. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you already read it.
No, I was just blabbering over here.
That you answered Councilmember Brown's question. That's right. Okay.
Okay.
We don't want you to get paid by the sentence or every word. So.
I was trying to get paid by the letter, but okay. The title of the ordinance for first reading and introduction is as follows. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Grand Terrace, California, approving zoning code amendment ZCA 25-04, amending Title 18 zoning to implement Assembly Bill 98, 2024, as clarified by Senate Bill 415, 2024, including adding definitions, establishing a logistics use category, and adding a new Chapter 18.75, logistical use standards, and finding that the ordinance is not a project under the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, pursuant to Government Code Sections 65852.28E, 65913.4.5B, and 66499.41I, I think it is. With that, we can vote.
Okay, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, unfinished business, none, new business, item 15, 20, 25, 20, 26, mid-year and year-end budget review. Christine Clayton.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Christine Clayton, Finance Director. Tonight we are going to talk about mid-year and year-end budget review. So this is for our 2030 vision, and it's goal number 1. So the purpose is to review our mid-year actuals, our year-end projections against our proposed budget, and if there's any budget adjustments for mid-year. These are our mid-year actuals as of December 31st, 2025. As of December 31st, general fund operating revenues were $3.8 million, or 44.5% of the budget, which was 8.7. General fund operating expenditures were 3.9, which represents 43.8% of the $9 million approved budget. And this represents roughly $173,000 that was carryover from 24 and 25. And this just shows our revenues versus our expenditures. In the approved budget, there was roughly a $365,000 deficit, and as of December, there was a $103,000 deficit. And this is due to timing. We get our property tax in 2 big installments, December and April, and we get our sales tax about 2 months behind. So it's generally a timing issue. Now on to year-end projections. So in the first column, we have our approved budget, which was approved at $8.7 million. As of December 2025, we were projected at $3.8 million, and for year-end, we're projecting $9.9 million. And as you can see, the biggest increase is the property tax at roughly $1.3 million. This is due to, A, I under budget revenues. I am very conservative. I don't want to have to stand in front of you at mid-year and say, I'm sorry, we're not getting as much as we thought. So I under budget. The second piece to that is our consultant forgot to take into consideration revenue from Condor. As of right now, this is one-time money that we've been told. We don't anticipate it moving forward, so we are treating it as one-time money. Hence why we have an increase of $1.2 million over budget. Now on to our projected expenditures. Our approved budget was $9 million. As of December 2025, we had roughly $4 million in expenditures. Our year-end projection is $9.9 million. And this is a deficit, or excuse me, an overage of roughly $887,000 in expenditures.
You almost gave me a California heart attack when you said that.
Sorry, not trying to.
We can't do like California and just keep pushing it, so.
I will try my best.
All right, thank you.
And so here you can see the revenues versus expenditures. So overall for the year, we will have a net of roughly $5,756. And with the additional $887,000 where you see the deficit, which is not really a deficit, the city would like to do the following. We would like to spend roughly $84,000 on law enforcement, $365,000 on park upgrades, $130,000 on roads. There's roughly $126,000 for a ballot measure consultant and a truck route survey, which we were just discussing. Facility improvements, document scanning, emergency prep, special events, improvements, and then there's some miscellaneous. And it's all within the budget since we have an increase in funding for this fiscal. Are there any questions?
Council have any questions? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you for that report. Can you just tell us about the ballot measure consultant component?
So that is estimated to be roughly around $100,000 to have them come in, and that would be the ballot measure going in November for the 1% sales tax.
Okay. And how much did we spend during the last?
The last one, if I recall, was roughly
About 40.
40, I think, when everything was said and done.
And we paid $40,000 for the consultant to create heavily loaded graphics.
To do the we're not allowed to put our finger on that scale. So the consultant did was create surveys for us, do some polling for us, and helped position and then helped us write the ballot statements and work forward on that. So what we cannot put money for is signs for campaigning or anything like that. And we are looking at really putting an effort into this year. So I want to put that money in there. Once again, we estimate expenses high, we estimate revenues low, and that's why we have the ability at mid-year to discuss doing extra things at budget.
Who put together the heavily loaded graphics, the verbiage that went out and framed the messaging?
Yeah, that came from the consultant.
Okay.
And it will probably be a different consultant this time.
Okay. And I just asked because the effort that was put out with the last consultant it was done poorly, and I can't get behind funding another consultant who did a haphazard job with what we had. The information was not digestible for anyone. The graphics were very heavily loaded. It was so much information and inundated that the community, either didn't engage with it or could not make heads or tails of what could have been delivered on a sheet of paper. So with that said, I'm just concerned with using another consultant and expending funds on taxpayer funds on something that's...
Well, there's a couple of steps. First, the council has to agree that we're going to go forward with this. And secondly, then we have to find a consultant who's able to deliver a quality product. Like I said, it's probably not going to be the same guy we had last time. And then before we engage this, because of the price tag, that contract has to be approved by council. So there's some steps before, but at this point, we're setting the money aside. If any of those steps fall through, we can always do pavement rehab. There's plenty of that in the city.
And in what capacity will the $84,000 for law enforcement be utilized?
So there is
So there is roughly 50,000 for additional flock cameras throughout the city, and then 34,000 for an SSS officer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And just to note, anything that's over Conrad's threshold will be brought back for your approval individually.
All right, so that SS officer is really going to help out a lot.
So the SSS officer, they're not a sworn officers, they're not running around with a gun and a nightstick, but they're a real force multiplier. So they are available to do traffic reports, incident reports. When you call to file a report, they're the ones that do that. They'll even do fingerprinting at a crime scene, all of the stuff to get our officers back on the road and so that they can actually do the things that sworn officers need to do. So they're a very, very valuable force multiplier. We had one here 7, 8 years ago. That position was cut, and I think it's very valuable to bring back and will help us, while not, putting another gun on the street, will free those guys on that are sworn officers to do their job. So I think it's a very important piece.
So they'll be very valuable when Woody's puts a new sign up and it gets run over again.
One more time, what was that?
They'll be very valuable when accidents, like when Woody puts a new sign up on Barton Road.
Correct.
They're going to take care of accident reports and stuff like that. All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
I just wanted to follow up with your statement about having that backup personnel available, just because we had walkouts with the youth out on the street, and I went out, one, to make sure, everyone was safe, stepped out just to observe, and our deputy did have to follow, make sure they were safe and adhering to, law, and it prevented follow-up with, we had residents who had an issue with someone who was trying to enter homes on that day. And so I appreciate, the thought in being able to have that support personnel, especially when we have the deputies and we have a citywide event taking place, and we need that backup to be able to address those needs. I had several calls from residents. I had them forward their case numbers to me because at that time they said that they didn't have follow-up, but again, without that personnel, our deputies aren't able to do that, so thank you for that.
All right, so as far as our reserves, we still have enough in our reserves.
We do, sir.
Okay, so what is it good for, 6 months, 9 months, our reserve?
Oh, it's over 6 months, but I make sure we have at least 6 months.
All right, but we don't have enough to sue the state of California.
No, sir.
All right. Okay.
And the reserves are important. Christine made a comment about, imagine if you only got paid twice a year. So we need to have enough reserves and cash on hand for operating expenses and all we do for that 6 months or almost 9 months between the April and December payment that we have to keep operating. So 6 or 9 months of reserve is almost the bare minimum and not enough money to sue the state.
Well, I appreciate we're counting every penny. And I like your conservative style. I'd rather, you're right, we don't want to get a surprise. We don't want to have anything that might happen in the future. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. But the council have any other questions? Have any public comment?
No, sir.
So do I have a motion and a second?
Mr. Mayor, of course I have questions. It's budget.
Okay, well, you're going to have to start throwing stuff at me. I can't turn my.
I know you can't turn your head this way. So unfortunately for me, I stayed up late last night reading the agenda, and you had a slide that I think would answer some of my questions. So our total budget authority was 9.1 million, and now we have estimated expenditures of 10, which is about 10% of the budget with that $887,000. And I was looking at the numbers last night, and so 12% of that, 118,000, 119,000 was for the city manager's office. So which projects were those for?
So that would be the ballot measure consultant and the truck route survey.
Okay, and the city attorney was 42%, it's $87,000 over. what we budgeted.
So that has to do with the Ann Petta
Okay.
issue.
right.
And then we've had a lot of ordinances and resolutions and parts of our code that have been redone this year, and that takes time and effort.
And the builder's remedy issue. Between the PET and the builder's remedy, those were the big
Yes.
nuggets.
Okay. And then I had a question on the senior center improvements. It wasn't much, but those are CIPs, some capital. They weren't operational.
They're not up, other than the SSS officer and the annual on the flock cameras, these are all one-times. So there's nothing that has additional recurring expenses. They're all capital or one-time expenses.
Okay, thank you. Now, fund balance. So the estimated fund balance, and you can help me out here because there were things that I couldn't find online, was 8.7 million. So what of that amount is contingencies or reserves? Because I know some of it has to be restricted, right?
So there is a chunk of it reserved. Unfortunately, I don't have that in front of me, but I will get that and I can email it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't find it online. There was fiscal policy from 2015-16 states that the reserves would be maintained at 17%, and it looks like we had more than that, which is fantastic.
If I remember right, it's about 3.2.
Okay. Well, under the GFOA minimum, it's only 1.5, so. But there was a link on the website out of the fiscal policy from 22-23 that didn't work either, so I was digging through it, and I thought that was something that was really positive, and I think that's something that we should obviously share with the residents of Grand Terrace, that we're being fiscally responsible, and we have set aside more money in reserves than the minimum requirement. So anyway, that's why I wanted to bring that up.
Before you finish that, there is a rating agency that rates cities on a score. We are a B+ to an A-, and in all of our reserves, cash flow, budgeting, year over year, we're A+, A, and the part that hurts us is our unfunded liability. But and we'll bring that when we do the annual budget later in the year. But so for the citizens, imagine you have some debt that you have to handle, but you got plenty in the bank, you got plenty to cover the debt, you got plenty of income, you're making good money, you're not living large, but you're living well and well within your means. And that's what we're doing as a community.
Right. And the unfunded liability is the CalPERS debt.
Is the CalPERS debt, and to dive down that rabbit hole just for a minute, is primarily tied to the old daycare center. Because there were so many employees there, so many of them are still around. They still, because they were city employees, they get retirement out of that facility. So if you break it down, it isn't even on city service and what you would typically consider city stuff. It's primarily tied to the old daycare center, and that will work itself out over, a couple of decades and time.
Okay. Last question. I'd like to ask Mr. City Attorney about process. So, and the scope of the city manager's limits for appropriation authority. So we, as a council, formally adopted a budget, and that adopted budget constitutes a legally approved expenditure authority governing all of his appropriation authority. So it defines what he can and can't do within our existing budget. So tonight we're presented with this item, and it's a no action item, receive and file, yet the staff report indicates we're spending nearly 10% more of our budget on these items that are listed here. So can you please, for the council, clarify for us the process and how we're going to go forward to authorize the city manager this additional expenditure authority that we did not authorize him at when we adopted this budget through the formal hearing process?
Yes, traditionally, in my experience, the staff will come back with amendments to the budget for the council to approve. Sometimes it's done at mid-year, sometimes it's done towards the end of the year to reconcile the budget. But again, the budget, I agree with you, is a policy document. It is a limit on the expenditure. It's not necessarily an approval to do something for example, like we were talking about the vendor who's going to assist on the ballot measure. It's a spending limit. They still have to go through procurement and all those requirements, but it's merely a spending limit. So to the extent it deviates, staff would normally come back at some point to have the council approve those deviations and reconcile a full budget. I would defer to the finance director if I'm incorrect or have anything to add.
So typically what we have done is if it, with you guys reviewing it, and I can't remember last year if you guys actually approved it, anything that was over Conrad's purview, we brought back to you and you guys approved it individually. Anything that was under his purview, and please correct me if I'm wrong, he was able to sign off on because it was presented here.
So, and the view is that my responsibility is to provide a balanced budget. So if the revenues go up, then the expenditures can go up. So at the end of the year, I bring you a zero or a positive.
Well,
And that's-
you don't have the authority to go over the approved budget without council action. And that's why I was asking the city attorney how he was going to advise you on process, because you're presenting an item to us tonight. It looks like I vote for it, and I'm saying, okay, great, go spend 10% more than what we budgeted. And 10% is obviously a significant amount. We're talking $900,000. So I want to understand that process, because it doesn't seem like this is just a receive and file item to me. So that's the reason for the question.
And I agree. I mean, the council adopts the budget, so it would be up to the council to amend the budget to reflect any.
So we can do it as an amended budget. We need to come back next meeting and do it as amended budget. That's fine. And if that's the process, it's not a process we've previously done, but historically has not happened. But I understand where you're coming from. There's no problem doing that.
And if I may, in one of my other cities, so if there is ever like a procurement or an action that would trigger going over the budget, staff would sometimes bring a budget amendment concurrently with the proposed action. So say,
Right.
for example, they're entering into a contract, it goes 10,000 over budget, they come to the council with the budget amendment at that time to get approval.
And clearly, we're not going over budget. This is mid-year, and so we've only seen, partial revenues and partial expenditures at this point, and that's not what I'm saying. It's just it's not a very clear process, and I want to make sure that it's one of the most important things we do here. You guys saw it earlier tonight. It's budget, finance for the city, and land use approvals. Those are two critical, roles that we play as a council, looking out for the taxpayers of Grand Terrace. And so I want to make sure that when I'm voting for something, that it's very clear, and this item, it's just clear as mud, as far as from a procedural standpoint, in
So
my opinion.
what we can do is we will bring back, so that there's transparency and clarity on this, that the revenues are expected to come up with an authority for that revenue and an authority for the expenditure to not exceed, if we go back to that $887,000. And then we have, anything that's over my purchasing authority comes back to council. Anything that's inside, as long as I stay inside the newly approved budget, we can continue on operation. We can do that.
Fantastic.
And then it is extremely transparent and clear then. So no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
That means we will be having a meeting the second Thursday, or the fourth Tuesday of this month.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
Conrad, I'm at a conference.
Well, then I'll stand up there. You can beat me up, you get a break.
Okay.
So this receive and file,
You can receive and file it now, and then we will come back with an actionable item on the parameters that I just explained.
okay. So attorney, you have anything to add?
No, nothing further.
All right, well, thank you. All right, item H, future agenda items. At this time, the city council may propose a discussion and/or action of future duly agenda items for the city council meeting, considering the major quorum required to place the item on a future agenda. And I want to go ahead and make one for an update on the Wallace House. And I know I talked to the county about their mental health things, so they said in a couple of weeks they should be ready, so that's why I'd like to see, we need clarification, we need clarification on the Wallace House and see what's going on and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, especially since resident got hurt, and I just think it's time for them to come and talk to the city. Yes.
Can I jump in and help you?
Yeah.
So I actually had some notes for our city clerk. I too would like to request a council agenda item to receive a comprehensive update on the current code enforcement and law enforcement measures being taken to address the ongoing public safety issues at the J.C. Wallace House. I would like the discussion to include an explanation of how the J.C. Wallace was permitted to operate in the city without a formal public hearing regarding the change in their conditional use permit. And I would like staff to present options to the council to reopen the CUP in order to consider adding stronger operating conditions, including enforceable penalties for violations, if that's okay with you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, mine's layman's terms, but yes. And I think we brought that up at one time about the violations and the penalties, so.
At this point, I think we've all had enough.
Yeah.
And we've seen it, we've experienced it. Mayor Pro Tem was telling me she had a run-in with a resident, and I had one on just on Barton Road a couple days ago in front of me in the middle of the street. They're a threat to public safety, and it's not a condition that we can tolerate. It's impacting the quality of life of our residents, and enough is enough. I've been patient, I've been here for over a year, and I want action, so thank you.
No, you're right, and then the other thing is, when it was discussed with them, is not to abuse our precious resource, which is our first responders. And tying up time for them when the taxpayers are paying good money for protection. And like Ms. Forbes said, that gentleman doing his hand, I thought he was on a bowling league or something. I didn't know what the heck was going on, but yeah, we need some clarification. So I'll second your motion, Councilmember Brown. Anything else? A motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Any other future agenda items brought up? No? Okay, we'll close that. City Council communication, Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to share that I had the opportunity to attend San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department 2026 volunteer installation ceremony. And that's where our Central Station citizens on patrol were sworn into their board positions. And I just want to thank them for their service to our community and everything they do to try to help keep us safe, along with all of our deputies. I also had the opportunity to attend the housing element study session that was conducted last week by our staff and the consultants. And I have to say that I was pleasantly surprised by the turnout from the city residents and the engagement that we had. It was really good feedback. The only thing is I wish we could have gone a few minutes longer to take some more public comment. But the residents, have really valid concerns, and we were advised, as a council, we couldn't speak at that meeting because it wasn't a council meeting, it was a meeting for staff to educate the public and listen to their concerns. So while I couldn't address anyone there, I wanted to share that, like all of you, I don't like the state forcing zoning changes on our city any more than you do. And I want everyone to know that I will continue to fight the state and all of the bad legislation that negatively impacts our quality of life here. It's extremely unfair for them to impose, these big city mandates on our small community, and we'll fight it every step of the way. So anyway, that's all I've got tonight, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I was at that same meeting with you, with Councilmember Brown, that the planning commission, you know, over this rezoning. And what I took away from that is that there's some, I believe that there is some misunderstandings among the residents regarding what this means for them and what it really doesn't mean. I think that, you know, what it doesn't mean is that there's going to be immediate development on their neighboring properties or theirs. And there's a real, I took away from there that there's a real concern of on their part that this is, in fact, what's going to happen. And so I just think that there needs to be, maybe at the next session, you know, some more down-to-earth clarifications on those questions that came up among the people that were there. But it was a good meeting. I'm glad that sensing change was great, the workshop, and you know, I think that the Gabriel and Scott were the ones hosting. They did a great job maintaining calm and order and making sure that the people got their questions answered. So I attended this past week the excuse me. Just got back from Sacramento not long ago, a couple hours ago. I was up there attending the Civic Well Conference, Policy Bridge Conference yesterday, and it brought together legislators from the state, Senate, and the Assembly, and also local leaders from up and down the state to sit together and discuss community resiliency in the face of budget cuts from the federal government and climate change and utility shutoffs and all kinds of things came up in discussions, and I'd be happy to go into a much more detailed report with you on some of the things that we were going over, but some of the things were like empowering local clean energy through community scale solutions and utility oversights, local affordable clean energy for California communities, funding access and capacity building were some of the topics that were discussed also, in regional planning and SB 375, affordable housing access, financing. These sort of things were part of the discussion. Senator Allen, Senator Blakespear were there, and some members of the Assembly to answer questions for us and have discussions. It was a great event, and so if you want to talk about it anymore, just let me know. But that's all I've got for you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilman Wilson?
I will defer to my colleagues.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. I did attend the division meeting for League of Cities where our mayor, he oversaw and ran our first meeting. So again, congratulations on fulfilling that role and representing the Inland Empire cities. I also attended the end of the housing element workshop. I didn't have childcare, and so I did show up at the end and was able to meet with some of the residents who just wanted to be able to meet with their local representation, express their concerns, express their fears. So many of our residents have been here since the inception of Grand Terrace. And like many of us, we want to be able to preserve our small town, you know, and keep that small family feeling that we've always had. And so having, again, the state mandate that we have to create spaces and rezone different areas of our community. And if you watched that meeting, none of us are happy with it. None of us like what's happening, the loss of local governance that's being sent down from Sacramento. I appreciate our Assemblywoman's office for always lending us an ear, being able to not only listen, but be our voice up in Sacramento. I've been up to Sacramento. The plan is to go up again. we don't only meet with our legislators, we meet with chairs of other committees because we have needs here in Grand Terrace. And our job is, one, to ensure that we have a voice up there, that we take up our biggest, highest priorities, and that is something that we collaboratively do with our city manager and his staff to be able to go up there, not only advocate, but make sure that they are aware that we're here. It doesn't matter that the size of our city, what they do impacts us. And if we're able to sit down and have a reasonable conversation with them, we've had time and time again, those legislators reach back and thank us or ask for our input or want to carry those conversations forward. So not only are we going up and being a voice for Grand Terrace, we're advocating and we're trying to move the ball forward. So thank you, Conrad, for creating that space for us to be able to do that. That's everything I have other than tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. The chamber does have a meeting that they will be hosting at Azure Hills. The presentation will be by Tony Clubb. He's retired law enforcement officer of 24 years and certified alive instructor. So if anyone's available and up that early, I encourage you to come out.
Thank you. A couple things. First of all, I want to do a shout out to Top Tier Plumbing for taking care of the family on Michigan that had plumbing issues. They were getting ready to be red tagged because Edison decided to put a power pole in the middle of their sewer pipe. So Nathan, the owner there, they were able to take care of them and everything got approved. So that's one good thing. We don't want anybody to be red tagged and lose their house. It's crazy, but yeah, so that was experience talking to Edison on their committee and their reimbursement thing. So that was a whole new ball game. The railroad bridge by the 215, hopefully within this year, all that graffiti is going to be removed. Been in contact with the railroad and Caltrans and actually been working on this since August. So let's say there's light at the end of the railroad tunnel, but hopefully it'll be painted over and then also find out ways so the graffiti won't stay there, come back. I told them to hire the people who did the tagging. They'll probably get it done faster, but they didn't listen to me. And then on the League of Cities, there's priorities that we have for the League of Cities that they come up with. Of course, you know, the big thing is the RETA numbers on that, and then, you know, how the 1.3 million housing in Skag just decided to roll a dice and everybody's getting this affordable housing. And when we think about affordable housing as low-cost housing, it's actually young people too. But we're fighting all that, but I just want to say when we had these meetings here, these town hall meetings, to respect the staff that are here. When you get your minutes to talk, respect other people also, so they can have time to talk. 3 minutes is 3 minutes. There's a reason for that, and that's so everybody could get in there and talk. Staff is working hard to try to take care of this element. Ms. Farley and Ms. Bentley, she just left, but if you guys have something and you want to send it to my office, you can email it to me. I'd like to see Ms. Bentley what she had her plans, so Bobby, maybe you could tell her to email it to me. But also, my office hours are from 1 to 3 on Wednesdays. So if I'm not busy doing something else, I'm here. So if you want more than 3 minutes, I'll give you 2 hours. You can talk to me all day long, all right? But I'm here for you guys, or you can make appointments with the council members if you want to talk. I know it's hard to get your point across in the 3 minutes, but we're here, we listen, we do our homework. But I'm just asking, please be respectful to staff when they're doing these town hall meetings so everybody could get the word in. And everybody, you know, because there's a lot of emotions running, and the staff are trying every possible process to make it not as painful for this little city. All right? And don't always rely on Facebook for something. And I know it was put on there that the planning commission meetings canceled. A lot of people don't know the difference between a planning commission meeting and when we had our town hall meeting. So on our city website, just the facts, get all your information from there. That'll tell you what's coming up. It'll tell you the facts instead of hearsay. Also, I think we have a thing too for new handouts for phone numbers for people to call if they have issues. And if you have anything like I got a call for vicious dogs yesterday after our code enforcement's gone, please call the non-emergency number so they could get a hold of our animal control. All right. And on our Cal Cities, one of the things that we talked about is one of 3 other priorities, of course, is getting fully funded for Proposition 36 for our law enforcement. Gavin Newsom didn't fund that again. I don't know why when we have 70% of the voters in the state voted for that, but he decides he doesn't want to fund it, so we're going to be fighting to make sure that we get funding for law enforcement so we can stop this homelessness and we can stop this, there could be resources for people to get off the streets and, go to drug rehab. Another thing is Measure I. Measure I is coming up on the ballot. We talked about that. They're probably going to be coming here and speaking. But all that is an extension of the already half-cent sales tax that we have. Now, Measure I, what's good about that is it's locally controlled. So it's not the state doesn't get a hold of this. That's why you're seeing all this upgrades on the freeways and stuff. Because if we had to wait for the state all the time, we'll be, up without a paddle. Plus, it gives city control so we could get our streets done. I'm not a tax guy, but I also believe in paying taxes to get something done. And that's not being wasted. And another thing is homelessness is a big priority too. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of waste and abuse on the homeless with the nonprofits. So I know Fontana's getting ready to open up a homeless shelter, and a lot of cities are, of course, the bigger cities are donating money for that. We don't have the money. Riverside tried to open up a homeless, convert a hotel, but that got voted down. So that's a need that's always going to be there. But if Prop 36 gets fully funded, I think we could take care of that need on the homeless issue. And once again, thank you for everybody coming out today. Thank you, staff. Thank you for our budget. Thank you for all the public comment, and thank you for, our young adults that, we recognized. I know they went out there and voiced their word. I didn't hear anything on far as accidents, thank God. But I appreciate everybody's, work in the city and all the volunteers. So, City Manager, you have any comments?
To hit back on your Measure I piece, it is local control. The city gets Measure I funds that we use. That's why we have the new pavement. That's why we're doing our concrete rehab. Big chunks of that funding come from Measure I money that comes directly from that. So that is a tax that you see locally controlled, locally implemented. So it's a very powerful tool. And as that comes around for renewal, then we'll talk about that more. So March 1st is the Blue Mountain Hike. This is the Sunday year, so it'll be on Sunday, March 1st at 0800 to go up, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed up there. That's it for me. Chief?
Yeah, I know it's been a long night, so I just wanted to add one thing. Last budget year, we budgeted for a pretty significant piece of equipment for one of our engines, or for this engine in particular, and we were able to finally get it delivered. It is a auto pulse, which increases ROSC, or return of spontaneous respirations, or circulation, which is simply a pulse, by almost 14.5%, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it goes from about 20.2 up to 34.4% survivability rate. And essentially what it does is it adds one more person. It's a mechanical CPR device on a CPR type of event. So it was a $30,000 purchase that we made. We put it in some of our outlying stations, and this was one of the ones that we chose along with a couple others in the city. So that was delivered and currently on the rig as we speak. The other thing I wanted to say really quickly, we got some weather coming in between tomorrow and the larger storm coming in after the first of the week. So make sure if you need sandbags, they're here at the city as well as the fire station, and the sand is currently over here. So other than that, have a great night.
Thank you.
Lieutenant?
Yeah, I just want to touch base a little bit on Mayor Pro Tem had brought up the walkout they had last week. There was a lot of resources that went into that. We found out about it shortly before that kind of kicked off, and just gauging from what we saw with other cities in the surrounding area. Rancho Cucamonga had one. There was over 1,000 students that had walked out, and a lot of the surrounding agencies. And I'm certainly not going to speak to go down a rabbit hole of why they do it and things like that. I would just say from a law enforcement aspect, just please make sure. I'd say a large majority. I was out there. A lot of my partners were out there, and we're just kind of keeping an eye on the crowd just to make sure that laws are being abided. And certainly people are more than welcome to go out there and protest and do their thing. Just make sure that please, they're just abiding by the laws. Just because you're out there protesting over something that you feel passionate about does not mean that you cannot abide by the laws and things like that. So thankfully, knock on wood, we didn't have any really issues out there. What we do see a lot of times is, I would say a large majority of the people that were out there during that particular event were very respectful. They stayed on the sidewalks, they were on the crosswalks, and they were doing great. There's just a small faction of it that goes out there, and they're kind of the antagonists. They're the instigators, and they're doing burnouts, and they're going opposite lanes of traffic, and they're causing a disturbance down there to get a rise out of law enforcement. So I saw a lot of the posts from parents on social media encouraging certain behaviors and like, have at it, go out there and protest, which were like, great, protest. However, you cannot encourage unlawful assemblies and things like that, because you start running the risk of kids getting hurt out there, and if it runs the risk of unlawful assembly. There was a couple calls for businesses up and down the Barton corridor where upwards of 100 people at one time stormed into businesses. Well, that's unnerving for a lot of businesses when you have 100 people storming in. They don't know what's going to happen. So we're getting calls left and right. We are dedicating a ton of law enforcement resources that we don't have. We had to pull from neighboring cities. We're pulling our SROs from Redlands East Valley School District to come over and assist with that, and it's not even in their assigned area, but because things are occurring in this city that we're not going to allow rest, we're going to pull whatever resources necessary to make sure that happens. So just food for thought moving forward. Let's just make sure that we're speaking to our kids for the right to protest, and obviously just making sure they're doing it the safe way, just to make sure it eliminates any possibility of unlawful assembly and people getting hurt out there. So that's all I have.
Did you give any tickets out?
So I'll say this. So you kind of have to, it gets into a tricky situation when you have to kind of gauge every aspect, looking at it from the lens of, is the juice worth the squeeze kind of thing. So you go out there and you've already got a very irate crowd who's moving, they're not just moving all together, they're breaking up into different factions. So you've got a large group of them moving down, they're going down Michigan, but then you have a third of them that turn around and go the opposite direction. Now you go out there and start enforcing traffic laws, they're jaywalking, things like that. Well, okay, so we go out there and cite somebody for it. What do you do with the rest of the crowd? Now they start turning.
I'm talking about vehicle tickets, expedition of speed, they're driving down the wrong side of the street.
Nope, same thing. They were all part of that same group. They're flying flags out there. It's all part of the same group. So again.
So why wouldn't we give tickets if they're breaking the law? Even though I understand it could escalate something, but if they are breaking the law.
That's what you look at it at that time. It's like, okay, you pull that person over and you give them a ticket for that. Again, all that, we have our intelligence division out there. They're gathering intelligence on all those people. They've got plate numbers. They've got, all that going on. So like I said, all of these incidents are being tracked by our intelligence division. So it's not going unnoticed. So, even though they're not getting pulled over and getting a traffic cite for that particular instance, all of those vehicles that are involved in creating a disturbance out there are all being, looked at for potential.
No, I understand. I'm
threats
old
moving
school. I
forward.
would have ticketed them and towed their car. So, but I understand, but it's, I know.
I think you just have to weigh out every circumstance
I understand.
differently,
So, I was using extra resources. Did the school system, are they gonna reimburse us for anything?
That has not been talked about, no.
They do have a school resource officer
Correct.
still.
We have a school resource officer that services this area, and then we also have one that's in.
So how much does this cost the city of Grand Terrace do we have to pay any extra overtime or anything, or
No.
we just use additional resources?
Yep, they were just professional courtesy. We just brought, you're not gonna be billed for any of that. But again, it goes back to limited resources when things like this happen. We're pulling it because of professional courtesy, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna provide a service. But if you really put dollars and cents, if you look at it, like it would be very, very costly, if every time that happened, it's like an airlift, you know, it's we come in and do a search and rescue. It's
So
cost
it
of doing
took
business,
away
cost of
from other things that we need.
Without a doubt, yeah, because there was other additional calls for service that were coming in. You know, unless absent a priority one, you know, medical aid or something like that. But if there's a call holding, you know, and a resident in Grand Terrace needs police service, it could potentially hold for an extended period of time because we're dealing with several hundred, you know, juveniles
Okay.
that are running through the streets.
Well, thank you for answering my question.
Yeah.
Conrad, you wanted to say something?
When you ask about cost, this is, I mean, one of the advantages of having the Sheriff's Department service is they're able to scale up without that cost, just like the SWAT teams and the helicopters and those pieces. So, and we appreciate the flexibility from the sheriffs for doing that.
Well, you know, I'll say the sheriffs are not just people to go get bad guys. You guys' jobs title is a whole different, you know, counselors, advocates, you know, you have a lot of stuff on your plate. So does the fire department. I mean, because that could also impede, you know, for you guys going into rescuing somebody with the traffic. Because I know tensions get high, then they think they see a fire truck and they want to, you know, not that they did, but they could prevent it from going somewhere. You have to make another route, so.
So, and one more before you finish, and on specifically on the demonstrations. That was a tough decision, and the lieutenant and I talked about what level do we enforce, and at what level is discretion the better part of valor, and by instigating traffic stops or whatever, are we escalating the situation that is a, you know, although annoying, fairly benign event into something that can be something much, much more by us inserting ourselves. So that was a conscious decision to, you know, kind of, unless it's something really bad, let them keep moving down the road. As long as they're moving, they'll go back to school and nothing bad will happen. And if we intervene, we will escalate that. So that was a tough decision, and I want to thank not just the lieutenant, but the entire sheriff's command for working that out. That wasn't just a one-man decision.
Just to touch on that, Conrad, too, and it's a touchy situation, too, because we had marked vehicles out there as well as unmarked vehicles. And speaking for myself, I was in an unmarked vehicle, and there was many, many people that didn't necessarily, you know, get violent towards my vehicle, but they were specifically targeting the law enforcement unmarked vehicles, and they thought that we were federal agents. And so they're just, I mean, it got to the point where I was like, I don't know if we're going to start charging our vehicles or what, but they were starting to kind of surround. They looking right at our vehicles, and they're just yelling expletives at us, thinking that we're federal agents. And I'm like, we work for the county. Like, we don't have anything to do with that. But the kids were out there just screaming and directing all of their attention towards these particular unmarked official police vehicles out there. So, like I said, it was that fine line where you could feel it was like they were moving, things were going good, but there was a small percentage of them that were very, very aggressive and could potentially turn violent. So we didn't want to give them the catalyst to kick that off.
Did you have any parents involved in this?
Couldn't verify if they were parents or not, but there were several vehicles that were pulling over, and they were opening up the back, and they were feeding them, and they were giving water, because it was hot. It was a hot day, and they had a long way to walk, and so there was definitely some resources available that were out there that were providing food and water and things like that for the students as they were marching.
I could be a jerk and say, don't we have an ordinance that they can't do that on this? All right. So there was no kids staggering afterwards. They all went back to school, and no kids running around after all this was done.
It's my understanding, a bulk of them went. There were some stragglers up on Barton in Michigan and things like that, but I don't know where they went after that. But according to school resource officers, they went back to school and all was good.
All right, well, thank you. Those
Thank
were
you.
questions that I got asked and stuff, so I just want to get clarification on those, so
Yep.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, so we have no closed session. We're going to adjourn, and like I said, we're going to honor our agenda, our council meeting in closing for Sergeant Grant Ward, who was a deputy sheriff. How long was he employed there? Lieutenant, you want to give some word about him? You want to talk about?
Yeah, so Grant Ward, yeah, he was our president of SEBA, which is our basically our union association, and he was upwards of 28 years or so. You know, great, just, I mean, he's been fighting this battle for the last 2 years, and they only gave him a few months to live 2 years ago, and he's just, I mean, strong will. I mean, up until days before he had passed away. I went and visited him 2 days before he had passed, and just gave me the biggest hug. I mean, that's just that was Grant Ward in essence. It's just a warrior, man. That guy always. I mean, even to the last week or so before he had passed, there were some really, really big things within the county and in our union that he was fighting for, and he got them all passed. You know, he's an incredible spirit, incredible man, and he's going to be sorely lost. Yeah, those are big shoes to fill for the new president for SEBA coming in, because he lived and breathed this county, this department. I mean, he was tanning green through and through, and he's going to be sorely missed.
Well, he was well known with all the local politicians and even the state politicians, and they all respect him. And our prayers are for his wife and his 2 kids. And
Thank you.
It's hard, especially, we don't know when God's going to call you home, but we're going to miss Grant and his smile and stuff and all his cheerful spirit.
Yeah.
So our hearts also go out for the men and women that served with him, his brothers and sisters.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
So our next regular city council meeting will be held February 24th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Any request items to be placed on future agenda must be made in writing and submitted to the city clerk. I want to thank my fellow council members for your decisions tonight and your professionalism, and thank you, staff, and thank you, first responders. God bless and have a good night.